What's up, everyone? We are back. We're back. We're back. We're back. It feels so good to be back on the show. I'm one of your hosts of the show, Hayes at AO Shifty. It's just me today. I've been the one having a lot of different things going on my schedule, so I had to find a way to end up putting in this episode. Steven's been putting out his own episodes for everything Penn State. I know he did one for Coach Campbell getting hired for Penn State. Make sure to tune into that. He also put out one about the AD Craft, Pat Craft, end up having leaked stuff when it came to James Franklin and also the vision of what they're going to do going forward. I might have some of this information wrong, so make sure to just tune into what Steven has on the different quick slants episodes that he's been putting out. So anything, go there. It's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to, you can get it over there. We have so much to talk about. There's been so much going on, from Coach Moore getting fired at Michigan, Odell Beckham talking about $100 million and how that ends up going fast. Newsflash, cut into the end, you can make $60 million work, I assure you. We have the college football playoffs that's right around the corner from us. We have the NFL picks for this week. We got to talk about what happened last week. We have the fantasy football playoffs. The amount of stuff that is going on right now. You have the NBA Cup. You got your boy Hayes that is starting up his own $10,000 challenge. The amount of stuff is just insane. We're going to talk about the most important story that has been hitting the globe. We're going to dive into every single bit, piece, spectacle of imagination for this. And that is Coach Moore getting fired from the University of Michigan. For people that don't know, he got arrested. I do want to give a lot of the details and all that is going on. So Coach Moore was the head coach of the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. After Coach Harbaugh ended up leaving to go to take the Los Angeles Chargers job, but of course there was some cheating allegations that were going on. So he got to step and just got up out of there before they can end up getting him with anything. Coach Moore was fired. They end up finding out that he had a relationship with one of his staffers who was the assistant to him, essentially. And they called her the administrative specialist. And they found out that she ended up getting a raise in 2023 to 2025, which is an insane raise that she got. Stay with me and you guys will end up finding this out too. She got a raise. Coach Moore does have a family. He has a wife and 3 kids. And he essentially, people, it depends on who you ask. Some people are saying that he ended up wasting that money away because he no longer will be able to have it because of the fact of what was in the contractual things that were going on. Other people are saying that he will still be able to get it because the University of Michigan did know about this for a while, and they did know that he had a history of mental things going on. That's more stuff that is going to come out. I've been texting Steven about this because this is one of the biggest things that's hit college football in a minute. We had the coaching carousel, and a lot of those positions are getting filled. JMU's coach went out to UCLA. Florida's coach is now at JMU. JMU is in the college football playoffs. You have Penn State's position that got filled. You have James Franklin now is at Virginia Tech. You have Indiana that just beat Ohio State, and that was a huge game. Georgia dominated Alabama. So the amount of things going on is insane. And then you have this on top of it all. Another detail to just let everyone know, he did get arrested. When everything came out, he spiraled. He ended up popping off at home, end up going to the mistress's home. Paige is her name for anyone that doesn't know. They called it an inappropriate relationship. Clearly, he was married. But he ended up going over to her house, threatening to kill her and himself. He ended up getting caught at a church because he had his location on and his wife found out. So the big thing is just giving the certain details of the salary history. The first thing is in 2022 to 2023, when she was administrative specialist, she was only making $58,000. 2023 to 2024, when she was the administrative specialist, she was making $58,000. 2024 to 2025, last year, I'm curious what this year is. Yeah, I'm curious what the end of this year and next year is going to be, if it would have been. But 2024 to 2025, she made $90,000. That's a 55% increase year over year. Nobody gets that type of shit. So that was something that just came up of, all right, another red flag in the situation. Oh, by the way, if you want to add more into this, he got her pregnant and then paid for, don't want to say it and then they cancel me on here, but he paid for it. And yeah, so that was another thing. Mind you, got kids at home. It's 2 weeks before Christmas, my guy. So they just gonna find out that daddy's not coming home for Christmas at this point. Mom got to deal with it. Is she gonna stay with him? Is she gonna go? Personally, when you have something this big, you can't really stick around for this situation. But so that's the main thing that's happened over there on the college football side. I did mention that Penn State did end up hiring a head coach, Coach Campbell from Iowa State. He is now at Penn State. This is something that Steven has talked a lot about in detail, and he's looking forward to having this as their head coach. James Franklin did end up going to Virginia Tech. We have talked about that. That is a game that we will end up going to next year. I'm circling it, promising it. Anyone out there that knows me, I'm letting you know right now when it's OD versus Virginia Tech, I will be at that game. Just letting you know if you don't hear from me. So we're just going to keep it a bucket 50 with that on that one. You have Coach Napier that did end up going to JMU. JMU's head coach ended up going to UCLA. Circle just continues. Everyone's getting paid. So congratulations on that. Other part that I do want to start to dive into for everyone that does pay attention to college football. If you've been here this far, you definitely do. So I thank you and I appreciate you for that. The first thing I want to bring up is the college football playoffs. It's something that I continue to focus on and pay attention to more and more as the years go on, especially when it was just the college football championship game. And then they had the Rose Bowl, the Peach Bowl, all that stuff going on. Number 1 through 4. Number 1 is Indiana because they beat Ohio State. Number 2 is Ohio State. Number 3 is Georgia. They beat Bama. Number 4 is Texas Tech. 5 is going to be Oregon. 6 is Ole Miss. 7 is Texas A&M. 8 is Oklahoma. 9 is Alabama. 10 is the University of Miami, the U. 11 is Tulane. 12 is JMU. Got through that. My thoughts. The first thing that I was able to notice from this, and I talked to a lot of people, is Texas Tech, depending on how this happens, does not have a bad road. And I say this because Texas Tech has to play the winner of Oregon and JMU. If Texas Tech does what they're supposed to do, Texas Tech can get that win. Keyword if. The one that can be an easy road if they play like they did last year is Ohio State. Because Ohio State has to play the winner of Texas A&M and University of Miami, so the U. And if they win that, they play Georgia. That's going to be a great game to end up seeing. And then you have Georgia on the other side, who has an easy game. Ole Miss just lost their head coach. And again, no disrespect to any of these teams. I know all of them are going to come to play, but you're playing against Georgia. Ole Miss, you should be able to get by Tulane. Not really concerned about that. If you look at the odds and the spread, it's saying essentially the same thing as what I'm saying. Then you have Indiana plays the winner of Oklahoma and Alabama. That's a game you do not want to have to play. Because if you're telling me you're playing the winner of either of those schools, if Bama gets through, Bama's giving you the works. Not winning the game, but Bama's going to come to play. They're not going to end up half-assing any of this shit. So that's something I do want to see. I do not think we're going to see a rematch of Indiana Ohio State for the championship game. That's something I will just say right now. But what I can see is Oklahoma against Alabama, Alabama winning that one. JMU versus Oregon, Oregon winning that one, but JMU giving them some competition. Ole Miss against Tulane, Ole Miss winning that one. Texas A&M against Miami. I feel as though Texas A&M should be able to get past and win that one. Then you have 2 versus 7. I would end up saying Ohio State wins. They're going to be pissed because they just lost last week. Then you're going to have Ole Miss and Georgia, just regular ACC battle right there. I can see Georgia end up coming through on that one. Then you have Indiana, who will be playing against Alabama. I want to say Indiana in that one. So I can see Indiana going to the national championship game. I will say Texas Tech against Oregon. I'm going to go with Oregon. I have not watched enough college football games to see exactly how good Texas Tech is, but I'm going to go with Oregon in that one. And then you're going to have Indiana versus Oregon. I'm going with Indiana, another battle of the Big Ten on that side. Other side, you're going to have Ohio State and Georgia. I'm going to go with Georgia. And part of it is Georgia's one of those dogs. Every single year, I feel as this can be another year, but that's going to be a battle. Another huge game, seeing those two schools go up against each other. Next thing I do want to end up covering, more going into the college football side of it with the University of Michigan and Coach Moore, is Bryce Underwood. He was the starting quarterback over there for the University of Michigan. Some people do not like the way it was handled. They end up doing this firing a day after signing day. So now a lot of those commits, what are you going to do? Decommit, or are you going to end up continuing to stay with your letter of intent that you signed? Bryce Underwood is saying now he's paying close attention to it. Mind you, the other school he was thinking about going to was LSU down in the swamp. Does he end up still doing that? I don't know. But do you think that he's really going to stay? It really depends on who they get as that head coach. That next head coach is going to be important for a lot of those commits, because a lot of them were there because of Coach Moore and that money that they had. They don't want necessarily the scandals there. Another story just to talk to for everyone, Coastal Carolina is set to hire Missouri State's Ryan Beard as its next head coach. Another thing just for everyone out there, USC is expected to be forced to leave the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum for 2028 season because of the Olympic Games. So that's going to be the main focus that they're going to look at. And that means that the Trojans will have to play their home games at SoFi Stadium. That's not a bad loss to end up going to. That's pretty damn good, if I say so myself. Next one is Kentucky is set to hire Texas A&M's defensive coordinator, Jay Bateman, as its next defensive coordinator. I think that's a solid pickup. Good job going from one SEC school to the other SEC school is basically how that one ends up going. Chip Kelly has interviewed for the open Georgia Tech offensive coordinator job. Yeah, he's hit partially a new loop, because if he's over here going to Georgia Tech, nothing wrong with Georgia Tech. But from where Chip Kelly was being a head coach over at the Philadelphia Eagles, UCLA, Oregon, and then he was with the Raiders as their offensive coordinator, and now you're just looking at this job. Come on now. Michigan, the University of Michigan head coaching hot board. They're saying Kalen DeBoer is one. Of course, they're saying Coach Kelly, who's just at LSU, is another one. And they're saying Lincoln Riley are just some names to think about. University of Michigan is one of those programs where if you can have the opportunity, you might leave your situation and end up going into this type of situation. Next one I will end up saying is Louisville and Ole Miss will open the 2026 season in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. It's great. Shout out to y'all for that one. Interesting that they're doing it over there. Tennessee is set to hire former Penn State and Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles as its next defensive coordinator. Another thing, so Indiana star Stephen Daly, he injured himself, and I saw it. He was just dapping up all the different fans, and he ended up messing it. It looked like a knee injury. I don't want to confirm and be wrong on that one, but it looked like it's a knee injury that he does have from that. Another story just to go into is YouTube TV will offer a new sports only plan in 2026 that is cheaper than its current $82 per month offer. I don't really know what that means. Different programs they're assuming is going to be a part of it is ESPN, TNT, Fox Sports, ABC, NBC Sports. We will see all that ends up being a part of this. Does it make it cheaper for people to end up doing this? We have to see. Or will they still have to get other streaming services? Another story that I listened to that I recommend a lot of people paying attention to. So Ed Orgeron, he was the LSU coach. He helped to recruit Joe Burrow to end up coming to LSU when he was at Ohio State. And when that whole situation went down, and just listen to Coach Orgeron's story of how he ended up recruiting Joe Burrow to end up coming there. I know it was between that and Cincinnati. He talks about Joe's brother played a part in all of this. And all that Joe Burrow wanted to do when he came down there, he brought up two names, such as two good receivers, and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. See how that team turned out, because they hit the gap. It's like, no. But that was just another story that a lot of people should listen to. You love hearing what these different college coaches talk about in their story that they do have. I talked a lot about the positives and stuff that did happen And of course, I talked about the University of Michigan story with Coach Moore. I do want to go to the other side and Notre Dame. Notre Dame did not make the college football championship. That is something that set them off, um, for lack of better words. They decided not to end up going into a bowl game either. And the issue with that is, with them not doing the bowl game, they now apparently are going to be guaranteed a spot if they make it inside of the top 14 next year. Other schools do not like that they get this guarantee. So some schools are potentially saying that they're just not going to play against them going forward. We'll see how this whole situation does play out over there. They have the money. We'll see if they just start paying different schools to play against them. Another thing with college football is the college football Heisman Trophy finalists. The four names are Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, Diego Pavia from Vandy, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, and then Julian Sayin from Ohio State. A lot of people are saying this is not a great list compared to previous years. Most people are saying you end up going with the quarterback on the best team, and that then would be Fernando Mendoza. If you look at the numbers, Jeremiah Love seemed to have a better year, but they say it takes a hell of a lot for these different running backs to end up getting it. Look at Ashton Genty last year. So that's just a little bit to end up saying for people in case anyone was trying to figure out, well, who's going to be the front runner in all of this? And that's the big thing to end up saying there. Tennessee has fired defensive coordinator Tim Banks. So that's another big story. Notre Dame quarterback Kenny Minchie plans to enter the transfer portal. That's a big thing. It happens every single year at this point. Transfer portal becomes the next greatest thing in the world. If you hit that, essentially you hit free agency like in the NFL. Tulane is promoting pass game coordinator Will Hall to its next head coach. Congratulations, my guy. You just got to pay. Duh. All right, so we finished everything on the college football side of things. We talked about Coach Moore. That was another big thing that I wanted to touch on. And now I want to end up going into the NBA Cup. So this is something that a lot of people probably don't fully understand. What the hell is the NBA Cup and what's going on? They had two games yesterday, Phoenix Suns against OKC Thunder, and then they had the Lakers against the Spurs. The Spurs end up winning that one, and also the Thunder won. So where does that leave everyone? So it's going to be the Thunder against the Spurs, which we know how that game's going to turn out. It's clearly going to be the Thunder that are going to wax that ass. The next game we have is the Knicks and the Magic. So if I had to guess, I'm saying the Knicks and the Thunder are going to be in it, then the Thunder are going to end up winning. And they would have essentially just gone the whole year with just winning championships and shit like that. I don't see the Thunder losing to the Spurs. That's not happening. They don't even have Victor Wembanyama. I mean, I know you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Castle, you have Vassell, you have Harrison Barnes. You have players on that team, but you don't have Wemby. And that's a big piece when you're going up against the Thunder. That game is on December 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you have the Knicks against the Magic at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, December 13th. And then you have Tuesday, December 16th, you will have the championship game at 8:30 p.m. So in my eyes, I'm going to say that's going to be the Knicks against the Thunder. This also just does not seem to be a tournament that a lot of teams care about, because this is not going to be a NBA Finals rematch. I mean, it's not going to be a rematch in the NBA Finals. You're not going to see these four teams up there. If you look at it even, let's see. So you have the Thunder and the Spurs. Were the Spurs even the best in theirs? They were 3-1. So and it's one of those, you just beat whoever on any given day. The Warriors, I don't think they really cared at that point. And then you had the Lakers that they went 4-0. They won all four games that they needed to, but also their groups suck. They had the Grizzlies, the Clippers, the Mavericks, and the Pelicans. I hope you went 4-0. That's simple. And then the OKC Thunder, they had the Suns, the Timberwolves, the Jazz, and the Kings. The Jazz and Kings suck. Timberwolves just vibes right now. And then you had the Suns, that the only game they lost was to the Thunder. Thunder went undefeated in that one. Then the Spurs, they had the Nuggets, Rockets, Trailblazers, and Warriors. That's a solid one, but I feel a lot of these teams are going to care more about the NBA Finals than this. Going on the East side, the Raptors went 4-0. They had the Hawks, Cavaliers, Pacers, Wizards. Two of those teams don't give two shits. They're just losing every single damn game at this point. And then the Magic went 4-0. They had the Celtics, Pistons, Sixers, and Brooklyn Nets. A little surprised that the Pistons went 2-2. They lost to the Celtics and the Magic. And then the Celtics went 2-2. They lost to the Nets and the Magic. It's just telling you what these people are genuinely caring about. Not really much of the NBA Cup. And then you had the Knicks that went 3-1. They had the Heat, Bucks, Hornets, and Bulls in theirs. And the only game they lost, the Knicks lost, was to the Bulls. The Bulls only won one game, and that was the Knicks game. So that just says everything there. Everyone, no. Two teams never won a game, and that was the Kings and then the Pelicans. I don't even know why the Pelicans are still in New Orleans. You need to end up moving them somewhere else. Does that take away from the city? Yes. Do they need to have a team down there? Absolutely not. Not at this rate. You'll be fine. I promise you. All your teams suck right now. You have the Saints, not good. You have the Pelicans, not good. So we need to do something else when it comes to what's going on with these New Orleans teams on that side. But I know what you guys really came for, and it was not this. It was not the NBA. It was not college football. It was when we make our picks. And we're going to try and do this in live time. I did not record Stevens. So let's see. I'm trying to go through everything of me and Steven at the same time. And then find the picks because he ended up. Yeah, so Steven put out a video on Tuesday about Coach Matt Campbell being hired there. But we're going to go through the picks. First off and foremost, before we start this, we always start it the same way, and that is fuck the Jags. The next thing we're going to end up doing, so first game that's going on right now as we speak, so we're doing this in live time, is the Bucks and the Falcons. So we both have the Bucks in that one. I do have a bet on the line, and depending on how today goes, I'll tell you all the next one. So we both have the Bucks. Browns, Bears. Steven has the Bears, and I'm going with the Bears. I do not. It's going to be cold as shit. It's going to be 10 degrees, and then with the wind chill, it's going to be -10. Hell no. Absolutely goddamn no. No, not playing in that. Don't need to be there in this time of the year. Y'all got it. I promise you, have it. Keep that weather. Next one, Ravens, Bengals. I have the Ravens. Most people should know that already about me, that I was going to go with the Ravens. Steven has the Bengals in this one. If the Ravens lose this, we have a lot of issues. So that's why I'm going with the Ravens. They need this game. Chiefs, Chargers. If the Chiefs lose this game to the Chargers, they're out of the playoff contention. I'm going with the Chiefs. I just don't think that this is really how it's going to go. I think that they're going to have to get one of these wins and get them on the pick-me-up, because I don't think we've seen the end of this dynasty at this point. Steven has the Chargers. Next one, we have the Bills and the Pats. They are playing in New England. I can't go against Josh. So I got the Bills. Steven has the Patriots in that one. Next one is the Commanders, Giants. Both the teams suck. If you look at what Steven said, he said ass because they both are. I don't believe that Jaden Daniels is going to play. He re-aggravated his elbow, which Commanders, why are you even playing him in the first place? Steven has the Giants in that one as well. Next game we have is the Raiders and the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles. Eagles need a turnaround ASAP. I know that their division is some shit, but they still need to end up having a turnaround. Steven has the Eagles in this one. Next game we have is the Jets, Jags. Fuck the Jags, but the Jets are not good. This is the only game, as Steven's not on the show, so I'm able to say this is the only game I'm choosing the Jaguars. Not doing this for the rest of the season, but the Jets are too bad that I can't end up picking against the Jaguars. Cardinals, Texans. Texans need this game, and they could be looking at the playoffs if they continue this win streak. I don't think the Colts are going to do it, although we have Phillip Rivers, which we'll get to in a second. And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is going to come down to those two, and they have a couple games that they have to play going forward, one involving head-to-head. Steven has the Texans. I have the Texans in this one as well. Jacoby Brissett's doing good, but that defense for the Texans has come alive over the weeks. Packers and Broncos. I'm going with the Packers in this one. I just feel as though the experience that Jordan Love has will outpace what Denver Broncos and Bo Nix is doing. This is Bo Nix's second year. That's also going to play a factor in me choosing Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Next game, I love seeing this year over year. This is like the third year in a row we've seen something like this. Lions, Rams. I'm going with the Rams. That offense is hot right now. They need this win to go into the next game, which we'll talk about in a second. But you have Puka Nacua Devontae Adams, the running backs now are getting it together. You have Blake Corum, you have Kyron Williams, and then you have Matthew Stafford that's over there. You have Higbee. Offense is set. Defense has been coming together each and every week. Steven has the Rams. I have the Rams. I also need to see what's going to happen with Amon-Ra St. Brown over there. Next game we have is the Panthers and Saints. Steven has the Saints. I'm not choosing the Saints. The Panthers are doing good this year, so I'm going to have to go with the Panthers in that one. Titans, 49ers. I don't think either of us need to say that right now. Colts, Seahawks. I don't know why Steven chose the Colts, but I'm just going to let him have it. I'm not choosing the Colts. They now have 44-year-old Philip Rivers, which let's take a minute to understand this. 44 years old, Philip Rivers. This man has been at home for 5 years, to the point that now people are coming up with different conspiracy theories as to why he came out of retirement, because part of them are saying Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees are all going to be up for the Hall of Fame, and it's going to take Philip Rivers a minute to end up getting into the Hall of Fame. So now if he does this, he puts himself past them, and then he'll now be in the in-between phase of after them, but before Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and all of them get in. So it'll give himself a better chance to get into the Hall of Fame because him playing allows that to happen. We'll see how that ends up happening. I saw some of his practice tape that he was playing when he was with the Colts right now. I don't know if that's going to be what y'all think. He's not putting up 300 yards. He's going to be the definition of a game manager. There's going to be a lot of checkdowns to Jonathan Taylor. There's going to be a lot of short intermediate routes when it comes to Michael Pittman. I don't see Alec Pierce being the one that's going to get over the top with Philip Rivers. But when he slings that one long one, y'all, we might all be surprised. I don't know. So I'm going with the Seahawks. That defense is not a defense you want to end up coming up against as soon as you come out of retirement. Next game we have is the Vikings Cowboys. Steven's going with the Vikings. I'm surprised because I'm going with the Cowboys. Dolphins Steelers. I'm going with the Steelers. Steelers need this game as well. Black and yellow is going to move on. So that's it for the games on that side. I do want to touch on one last topic before we end up finishing up for today, and that is fantasy football. So your boy is in 4 fantasy football leagues. Let's start with that. Your boy is in 4 fantasy football leagues. Let's let that sink in for everyone one time. I don't think y'all heard me. Your boy is in fantasy football playoffs. So the first one, I do have a game this week. I actually have a game tonight. I'm projected to have 103.82 points. He's projected to have 103.67 points. For the season in this league, I finished second at 8-6, and his record was 7-6-1. Craziest part I would say about that season is someone finished with 2 ties. I don't know how you finish with 2 ties, and I put it on half PPR. And the other league that I am playing this week in is I am projected to have 108 points. The other opponent's supposed to have 110 points. This game, I do have Emeka Egbuka, so that's another one that's happening right now. I need Baker. You need to come alive for us to end up having this happen. He has Brock Purdy. He just picked up, I think. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Devon Achane. That's interesting when it comes to the Monday game because he's looking at questionable. Javonte Williams, Theo Johnson, Jared Cook, good guy. Tyler Loop, and then he has the Chicago defense. I have Lamar Jackson. We all know how that season's been going. You really don't know how it's going to go on either side. Rashee Rice, Emeka Egbuka, Kyron Williams, Saquon Barkley, Harold Fannin, Blake Corum, Brandon Aubrey, and the Seattle defense. Why are you putting in 2 running backs from the same team? I don't know, risk for the biscuit. You saw how they did last week. If they can keep doing it like that, and they're playing up against the Detroit Lions, I feel it's going to be a high-scoring affair. If we can even have 1 for Blake Corum, 1 for Kyron Williams, 1 for Devontae Adams, 1 for Puka Nacua, we all going to be happy in this world. We all going to eat. That's really how I want it to go. Other league, I am in second place. I finished with a record of 9-5. I tied with the first place person in that one. The big thing over there is I do have a bye. So I'm happy about that. I have a bye in 2 leagues. That's one of the leagues where I finished 9-5. And then the other league that I have a bye, pretty sure I finished with the record of, where's the records? I could have sworn. I don't even know. One day they'll tell us. I don't think that day is today, though, guys. Super sorry about that. Anyways, I'm 95% sure I finished with a record of like 11-4 or something close to that. I had 3 losses. Never mind, found it, guys. I just moving too fast in this world. What? Who's the number one person? Who's the number one person in this league? 11-3 is what I finished with. I don't know where the other teams are because I'm not seeing my game. Here we go. 11-3. Yeah, I couldn't see my game, but I found it. So I'm 11-3. The number one person was 13-1. Third place was 10-4. There were 2 10-4 teams. There was a 9-5 team, and then there was a 7-7 team. Your boy with the team of Wild for Hogs had Jonathan Taylor, Woody Marks, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I have Michael Pittman Jr. as one of the receivers. I don't have to play this week, so it gives me some time to see how the Colts offense is going to end up doing with this. We'll see how that goes. So I have those 4. I have those 4 teams that 2 are playing this week, 2 are on a bye. So let's get half of them into the championship game, man. Let's go. That's really what I want to see. If anyone has any questions or anything like that when it comes to fantasy football, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer anything. Different players to end up looking for right now. So when it comes to quarterback position, I would say look at Brock Purdy as one. Trevor Lawrence is probably out there, and also Sam Darnold. Those are the main 3 I would say for the quarterback position. Running back position, Devin Singletary is probably the focus that I would end up looking at. I do not know what's going to happen. You probably can end up going with Devin Neal. He did do well last week. He had 19 carries against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then he had 14 carries against the Miami Dolphins. So if you do want to end up picking him up, go ahead. He did have 2 good games and they're looking to end up running the ball. If you have 14 and 19 carries, just look to see what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara on that side. Wide receivers that are out there, I don't really think any are the ones that you should go with. But if you want to, be my guest on that one. Tight end position, you can look at Cody Parkinson if you want to. Dalton Schultz is another one. Tight end is a person's best friend. And then if you want to get a little frisky out there in the world, go with Colston Loveland. So pretty sure that's how we're going to end up finishing it today. I'm really excited for all that is going to come about for the NFL side of things, the NBA. We just talked about Coach Moore. By the time we end up having our next episode next week, there's going to be a shit ton of information that's going to come out on that side too. Appreciate you guys rocking with us. Thank you for everyone that tuned in despite us not being on the same wavelength. Me being on the same wavelength with you all every single week recently. I got one more week that I'm going to be off, and then every Tuesday after that, we're just going to be hitting it quick. Appreciate you guys. Catch you next time. Be out.